Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me again. We are on Riverside here and we are on Zoom. So let me know where you're coming in from. Let me know if the Facebook Live is good. Let me double check that over here. Okay, it looks like we're on live. Hold on, let me allow someone in on the Zoom side. Let's see. Good morning, Mary. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Okay. So what we're gonna do, if you see me looking on this side, it's because I have Zoom over here and then I have the Riverside FM on the other side so that I can record for my podcast also. And then it's streaming live to Facebook also.
Okay.
So anyway, thank you for joining me. So today we're just what I planned on doing was Friday evenings I get on at 7 o'clock. Some people can't get on at 7, so I decided to do it again. Week 1, repeating on Saturday morning. And so the way that I'm gonna do it is Friday night, Saturday morning, and I'm just gonna keep going back and forth like that. So if you can't join on Friday, then it'll be on Saturday morning. So, okay. And there is 7 key talking points that I'm going to go through, and then the 5 key takeaways after. And then there's 3 questions to bring back to the next session. So if people have things to think about while they go through the week. And have you started the book, Mary?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Now on the Riverside and the Facebook Live side, I'm not actually going to be going on because there's just too much tech for me.
Okay.
Yeah, but okay. So it is 10:03 right now, and I'm gonna start. Don't mind the cough drops in my mouth, or if I have to stop to take a drink, it's because of the COVID thing. I'm not positive anymore, but I keep coughing. So, week 1, we're going to go over turning fear into faith, miracle working God, and walking in aloha. The 7 key talking points will be defining fear versus faith, understanding how fear holds us back, and how faith propels us forward. I'm going to be looking at my notes, so forgive me if I do. That's just how it is. This is real life. It's not rehearsed or nothing, so I just do it the way I do it. It'll get better in time, but it is what it is. Okay. So personal personal testimonies of God's miracles, how trusting God leads to unexpected miracles. 3, faith in action, turning fear into faith by taking steps forward even when afraid. And 4, God's promises, how God turns what was meant for harm into good. That's in Genesis 50:20. Walking in aloha, introducing living the Aloha lifestyle rooted in God's principles. 6, faith-based transformation, understanding that faith creates transformation in all aspects of life. And 7, fear as a tool for growth, how overcoming fear helps you grow closer to God. As I go through the talking points, I will be going through the book also. And let me read some of this here. Let's see. If you've already looked at the book, if you're already started, Turning Fear into Faith is the beginning story of how everything happened. And a lot of times when people read it, they get stuck right here because they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened to you. But I always tell them, read on, read on, because that's not the end of the story, right? That's what happened. Putting it in the beginning of the book gives context to the rest of the book. And that's why it's right there in the beginning. So I don't really want to go ahead and read it because it is being recorded, and sometimes people are like, no, I didn't want to hear that part. You know, it's hard. So I'll read one part in here because I had a question on it of how I got through. And I think this will put things into perspective. So let me give you a little bit of the detail here. This situation, I was going through that part where it was abusive, right? Like I said, domestic violence. Sorry, I'm crunching my. It's because I'm trying to get rid of it so I can talk. This part here is when the police had to come over, and my Alexa is doing some weird things back there. But anyway, the police had to come over. One thing that I didn't realize was when they did come over, and they said they needed I forgot what they're called, but an officer with a camera. They needed to get pictures of me, documentation, and I didn't realize how I looked or how bad I looked, right? And I ended up having them take the pictures and going into the ambulance and going to the hospital. And I'll read from the time I was in the hospital. It's on page 3. It says, I didn't know what I looked like. I didn't even think about it. But when another officer came in with a camera, they explained to me that they needed to get pictures. They also said they'd call the ambulance because I may have a concussion. It shook me to my core. Only then did I cry. I knew it wasn't good. I was scared. I knew he would be so mad at me, and I was afraid of what would happen. In the hospital was the first time I saw my face. I had huge welts on my forehead. My lips were so swollen and crusted, and my body ached. I could see marks all over my arms and legs. I thought, did I fight back? Did I do anything? I remembered punching and scratching in defense, but I guess it hadn't been enough, given how I looked. I noticed a little clock on the wall and realized the children I babysat were coming over in a few hours. I hadn't known that it was nearly 2 in the morning. I couldn't cancel now. It wouldn't give their mom enough time to find another babysitter. People were depending on me. I had to get home. I thought about how I could hide the lumps on my head with a hat. If I iced my lips, maybe I could bring the swelling down. Or I could lie about it. I would do whatever I could to keep helping people and hiding what was happening. I'd keep helping people. Everyone who needed a place to live stayed with me. Everyone who needed a babysitter knew they could call on me. Anyone who needed help knew they could depend on me. But who would help me? I didn't know who I could turn to. I knew this could not go on. I wasn't safe. So that's the first part of my book, and um, turning fear into faith, because I was so scared, but I knew it couldn't go on, right? I knew I couldn't let it keep happening, and I had to do something, but I just didn't know how at the time. So we go on to Miracle Working God. That is on page 4. How did I go from a life of domestic violence to walking in aloha? It wasn't easy. It took me years of working things out and many hours in tears, lying on my face, crying out to God. There were times that I thought I couldn't do it, but I know now it can be done. Philippians 4:13 says, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. It is possible to live a life that God created, that God intended for you, despite your past and the pain you've endured, no matter what. God can turn what was meant for evil into good. He did it for me, and He can do it for you. The one thing that I do mention in here is how I didn't want to write the book. I didn't want to relive what was going on. And so when God placed it on my heart to write this book, I bought it. I bought it. I was like, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to have to base the judgment of people, or, who would understand? They didn't understand then. Why would they understand now? Those kind of things. Well, I need to tell you that when the devil starts putting those thoughts in your head to keep yourself quiet, it's because your story needs to be told. There is something that needs to be said, needs to be done, and you'll come into all kinds of um, walls, right? You'll run into all kinds of walls because the devil's going to try to stop you from pursuing and being able to help other people. He will stop you. So I went to a power lunch yesterday, and it was amazing. It was with Inspired Church. Inspired Church has what they call Inspired Collective, and it is a group of entrepreneurs, business people, just people of power. And I was amazed to be in that circle, because there was a time when I felt like I would never be with people like that, right? So, okay.
Jeez. Somebody out being noisy.
You mind just muting your uh, I can hear. Oh, just go ahead and mute your self if you can.
I don't know how, but
It's okay. All right. There's a little microphone down at the bottom of your Zoom, and then if you just click that.
oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. You did it. Thank you. So, like I said, I went to this power lunch, right? And there, I met it was so funny. I mean, God is so good because I ended up sitting in the middle of two people at our table. And the first person that I spoke to, he was like, I've always wanted to write a book and I've never, knew how to start it and all that. And I'm like, I can help you. And I showed him my book. I said, the first book that I published, I had help. I actually hired a company to help me publish it. It's considered hybrid publishing. It's not self-publishing. It's not traditional publishing where you just give them the book and they do everything. It's considered hybrid, so it's a kind of like a half and half between the two, but you still have to pay a lot. You still have to pay a lot. I think I paid like over $10,000, and I still want to write, but there's no way that I would be able to write again or publish another book if it continued to cost me $10,000 a book. That just would not work out in me because I don't have that kind of finances just floating around anytime I want to publish a book. Hold on. So, anyway, I was telling him now that I learned how to do it um, self publishing through Kindle Direct Publishing, and I know how to put a book together. I know how to format a book. I know what's needed to make the book legal and be able to be published. All of the beginning parts where you have the copyright and all this page, right? I, yeah, this one. Anyway, um, now I know how to do it. I know how to do it, and I got my second book out. So I was telling him that, and he was like, oh my gosh, I want to write a book. So he's going to get in touch with me and we're going to work on getting his book out. And I told him that depends on where he is and how much he's going to write. He probably could get the book out by the end of the year or guarantee next year he will have a published book. And then the lady on the left of me, we were talking because I'm talking to him on the right. I wasn't talking with her. Then I turn around and I start talking to her. And she's like pregnant. And she's like, I wanted to write a book. So God sat me between two people who want to write a book. And that's one thing that I want to encourage people, that your story, as mine, needs to be told. Since writing my book, it's helped so many people. I've been on various podcasts. I now get, that just reminded me I need to get on my email because I saw another invitation to guest on another podcast. But I get emails on getting on people's podcasts to share my book, to share my story. And I don't know the audience, right? I don't know the audience that's going to be listening to it. I don't know who I'm going to be helping, but I just pray that God will use my story the way that He intended it to be used. And so if you want to write a story, if you want to write your story, sorry, you want to write your story, you can, and I can help you write your story and get your book out. And I can guarantee that if we started it now, you will have a book by the end of the year, or at least in 2005, 2025, 2025, you will have a book. Okay, 2025 will be your time to be a published author. So back to the book. Like I said, I didn't want to write it, right? But I did. I ended up trusting God, and that's one thing that we need to remember, right? putting our faith into action and trusting God. We have to be able to know that God's ways are higher than our ways. Uh, there's a scripture, I can't quote it right now. I don't remember it, but His ways are higher than our ways, right? And we have to stand on that, to have that solid foundation, to know that, we may not understand what's going on in our lives or how it's going to pan out, but if you trust Him and you put all your faith in what He has for your life. Oh my God. Oh, I hate this. It always happens when I talk so much. When I stay quiet, I hardly ever cough. It's the funniest thing. But it happens when I'm talking. So yes, having that solid foundation. As you read through the book, you'll see that there's worksheets, and when you're reviewing the worksheets, I did write it in here too because I want people to remember to be kind to yourself. Stay in constant prayer and recognize your path. Recognize where you're headed and know that God is going to lead you to that place in your life where you can live for His purpose. God has placed a purpose and a plan for your life from the day that you were conceived. And through the abuse and through the violence, sometimes it's forgotten, right? But you do have a plan. God has a plan for your life. Jeremiah 29:11. If you look that up, it says He has a purpose and a plan for your life. So walking in aloha. Aloha is more than hello, goodbye. We say aloha a lot. People use the word aloha a lot. Actually, if you look it up, there is an aloha law that was written out and started from Anti Palahi Paki. I want to say it correct, but look it up. I may have said it wrong. Palahi Paki. And, she used the ALOHA. The funny thing is that I didn't even know about it or heard about it until after I started writing it. When I was told that I needed to write this book, I had a hard time writing. I didn't know how, I didn't know where to start. And I prayed and I asked God, I said, if you need me to write this book, if this is your purpose and your plan, then you need to help me. And He said, I gave you everything in aloha. So as I wrote everything out, I realized that it is true. I worked through my issues of domestic violence and the mental, it really causes mental things, like I was hesitant to do photography. I was hesitant to do the things that actually was things that brought me the most joy. And I was afraid, I was hesitant. And it's because of that. It's because of the abuse that I went through. It's because of the mind games, right? So as I wrote through, I found out it literally spelled out aloha. So God breathed that idea into me. And then as I researched it, I found out about aloha law. I mean, I was born and raised in Hawaii, and I didn't even know that it was there, but it is. And how she used the ALOHA. And somewhere inside of me was like, wow, if God can breathe that into her, why can't he breathe that into me? And it was A, affirmation and action, L, leadership and love, O, overcoming obstacles, H, health and healing, and A, acute awareness. So I walked through all of this. And that is how I came to be where I am today and have the confidence that I have today. I know my confidence isn't not top notch, but I'm here. I'm here now. And I encourage so many people to reach for their God given gifts, to unbury those gifts that God has given you. And I've seen people just flourish because where they didn't believe in themselves, God gave me that gift to bring it out of them. And that's what I want to continue to do. It just brings me so much joy to see that. I feel like that in itself is my reward, right? That is my reward. A lot of times people say, you don't see um, the fruit of your labor, right? But I am so glad. I am so thankful when I get to see that, when I get to see the things that I've done and how it brought forth, or people come and tell me, they just come and tell me like, oh my gosh, this has helped me. Or I gave the book to my mom and she's so different. I read your book. Or one thing that was amazing, and I know that God orchestrated that to a T because there's no way that it could have happened just by itself. My cousin was on the beach in San Diego. She lives somewhere else in California. And there was these ladies talking about Hawaii and everything like that. And she just came back from Hawaii. And so she was like, oh, I just came back from Hawaii. And then they started talking, you'll notice people from Hawaii, as long as you know that they're from Hawaii, you end up talking sorry, right? That's just the way that it goes. You know that uh, they hear the way you talk, they know you're from Hawaii, they hear about Hawaii. It just brings people together and you start talking. No matter where we traveled around the world. And every time we've gone somewhere else, and if there was someone from Hawaii, you just connect. You connect, you like, oh, where are you from? And, let's go have lunch. It's just that way. People in Hawaii have that same aloha spirit. Yeah. And we carry it wherever we are. It's not the, it is a place. It is Hawaii, but the aloha spirit lives in you and you carry it with you wherever you go. So you'll see it. You'll see it. But as I said, aloha, it was something that I walked through and I never even realized it until I started writing this book. So I'll read it right here. Come close and like a breath, breathe in the sweet essence of what was once given to me and now I share with you. Aloha. I pray that you too will see how aloha will bring unity within you so that you can breathe again and live the God potential life He created you to have. Living your God potential life is not saying that you are God-like or that walking in aloha will make you God-like. God created you in His image. You were created with a purpose, potential, and promise. And it is time that you live out that promise. It is time to live the full life He created you to have. It's time for you to live your God potential life. Aloha is not just something you say, it's more than a word. It's something you feel, something you live. And now we go into the A, affirmation and actions, which will be next week. So I'll go over the key talking points, right? defining fear versus faith, understanding how fear holds us back and how faith propels us forward. As you heard me say, at that moment of being beat up, being told that an officer needed to take pictures of me because I was beat up or whatever. At that point, it's so fearful that you can get stuck, right? But what I did was I moved past that fear and I knew that something needed to change, something needed to happen. So standing on faith, knowing that there is more, that God created me for more, propelled me forward to doing more. And personal testimonies of God's miracles. Everyone, I believe, has a story. God works miracles in our lives, and sometimes we forget or we just ignore it. Sometimes we think that, oh, that was just nothing, right? But no, it was a miracle. So how trusting God leads us into unexpected miracles. By trusting God, He will lead you into things like you would not even believe. So the one thing that I know and I can see God orchestrating things in my life is I went from being afraid to finally writing this book. And when like I said, writing this book, I went from fear to faith. And I was working at the DoD. I was a teacher there. Over COVID, my husband was working at TSA, and I realized like that's a better paying job. They had more benefits and more care during that time of COVID. So I said I actually wanted to get his job. So when there's an opening, let me know. I'm going to work TSA. And he said it's kind of hard because you do have to test before you even get hired. And I said, don't worry, I will get the job as long as there's an opening. And trusting God, right? I moved from that into TSA. In TSA, I was told that there's college courses, and it was with Homeland Security. So I thought, okay, yeah, the instructor, he's a great guy. And I was like, wow, I can do that. So it is harder to study. Actually, I have to admit to that. It is harder to study as I get older. I'm 56 this year. And so it's hard. You're studying and you're like, oh, what did I just read? You know, I can guarantee you there'll be a time when I'm talking and I'll be like, what was I just going to say? It's just that way, the young ones, you guys will get there one day, but it is true. So I thought, what am I doing taking this college courses when I know that I'm not going to be working for another 10, 20 years? I pray to God that I'll be able to retire soon, things like that. I'm like, why am I doing this? But there's a reason and a purpose. So I just prayed. I said, okay, so be it. I will give my 100%. I will do my best to get through these courses. And so I was awarded my certificate in specialty. I forgot the name of it. Anyway, for Homeland Security. And I graduated in May with a 4.0, right? even though I struggled through it, I did my best and I scored really high. After that, they said there's another program that, because I went through that, the Homeland Security one, there's another program that it's criminal justice. It's an associate's program, and it's completely paid by TSA. And I thought, I don't know if I want to go through another, how many years of school, but I had to trust God. So I looked up what it would get me to go through the course to get my associates. To actually get my associates in criminal justice. What would it get me, right? And I found out that I could become a victim advocate. Becoming a victim advocate, I would be able to help more people. I would be able to stand in the gap for those who sometimes feel voiceless. And I would be able to help them. I thought, how amazing is that? That God can move me from teaching, in that teaching, I believe that He had a place and a purpose for me there, because it taught me patience. It taught me how to work with a group. It taught me how to lead. I was a lead there at the school. And then it moved me into getting my degree with Homeland Security, and now working on my criminal justice associate so that I can become a victim advocate. It went full circle, right back to the book, where I wrote this book to help people, not knowing that God has been placing things in my life and in order so that I can continue to help people in a bigger way. And as a victim advocate, I would be able to help, like I said, people who actually feel voiceless, right? The ones who felt like me before, where I'm like, I don't know who to trust. I don't know who to believe. If I say something, is it going to make it worse? Right? Those are the kind of things that I know that I went through. So I pray to God that I can help someone else through it and let them know that they have a voice, that they should be able to speak out and know that there's people out there that will help them. There's people out there that will actually be on their side, and they don't have to be afraid. They don't have to be kept silent, because domestic violence is that crime where people are kept silent. That is the power that they put over you and makes you feel like you can't say, you can't talk, right? So God turns what was meant for harm into good, like in Genesis 50:20, as I said. When you trust in God, He will work in ways that you can't even imagine, right? You can't even imagine how He works, because, as I said earlier, His ways are higher than our ways. We can't possibly know what God has in store, but we have to trust Him. So, the talking point 5, where I introduced ALOHA and the lifestyle that's rooted in God's principles. walking through Aloha, the ALOHA, was given to me in such a way that I know it wasn't just brought out by myself, you know. There's no way that I could have just thought about that, especially the fact that I didn't even know that the Aloha Law existed until after writing the book. And the faith-based transformation, understanding that faith creates transformation in all aspects of our life. It was one thing to get through the domestic violence, but that wasn't the end, right? That wasn't the end of it. I feel like God is just opening doors and continuing to open doors. After writing the book, it was done in December. It was launched by the end of the year and on Amazon and everything like that. By May of 2024, I won the award that's on the book. It's the International Impact Book Award for Contemporary Spiritual Journey. That's what the award is for. And I was amazed. I was like, spiritual journey. I never even looked at it like that. But yes, it is a path, right? It is that it is a journey. It is a journey because we have to walk through that, and it is a path to healing. So on my book, it says, "Welcome to your transformative journey of walking in aloha. Begin your path to a fulfilling and purposeful life today." It's not a race. It's not like you just get better, or like from point A to point B, like that, right? It's not point A to point B in a snap. I'm good. Like I said, it took years, but if I can shorten the gap for people by putting it in a book and helping them through, and like doing this 8-week workshop, if I can shorten that gap for somebody, it will just, like, that is just what I am created to do. I am here to do that. I'm like, you never know, right? You never know the whole thing of, like, I was being beaten up. I was being squashed. My confidence was being squashed. My personality was being squashed. Everything was like so small at one point. And I thank God that I am not there anymore. I'm not there. I am eager to help people write their story. I am eager to tell people that they have gifts in them, that gifts and talents that are buried, but you can unbury them. God has a purpose and a plan for your life, and He wants those gifts to be used. And it's not just to use for us, it is used for other people. God gave us our gifts not for ourselves, but to use it for other people and to bring glory to the kingdom of God, right? To bring God the glory, not to shine a light on ourselves, but to use what happened in our lives to bring it all back to God. And I think I praise the Lord, and I thank God for all that I've gone through. Now, I couldn't say it back then, right? I couldn't say it back then, but now I can say I see what I've gone through and how I can help people. God doesn't put you through those problems. He doesn't put you through pain. But what happens, He can use, right? He can use it. So the 5 takeaways for today. Faith allows you to transform fear into strength. God, number 2, God works miracles when we trust Him and surrender our fears. 3, Aloha is a powerful guide to living in faith, love, and purpose. Aloha, affirmations and action, leadership and love, overcoming obstacles, health and healing, and acute awareness. Those are the 5 steps to living your God potential life. Number 4, God turns challenges into opportunities for growth and blessing. What we go through may have been hard. What we've went through may have been hard. What I went through was hard. There's people walking in that right now, and they're like, it is too hard. But God can turn those challenges into opportunities for growth and blessings. Just trust in Him. And number 5, faith requires action, moving forward even when fearful. God can give you everything you need, but He's not going to push you to do it. You know, He's going to tell you, yeah, this is where you go, this is how you do it. But we're not puppets, right? We're not puppets. So He can lead us, He can guide us, but He's not going to push us. It's our choice. And if we stay fearful, if we stay stuck, that is our choice. We can move forward. If you feel stuck, honestly, if you feel stuck, you're like, no, there's no way. Seek help. Seek help because you can find that within a community. Reach out to me, reach out to someone you trust. Because even when we feel stuck, it may just be the enemy messing with our mind, and he wants to keep you stuck. Reach out, get help, have somebody help pull you out of that stuckness, right? Have them help pull you out of that muck and mire, out of the quicksand that's pulling you down. Reach out for help. And that's why I say, so when you feel voiceless, right, reach out so someone else can be that voice for you. And we're at 47 now, but let me go over the 3 questions to think about for the next session. Okay, so what is your biggest fears, and how can you begin turning it into faith? Write it down, journal it out. What is your biggest fears? And then bring it back to the next session. When have you experienced God's miracle working power in your life? Whether that was when you were a child, maybe that was something like big, like, oh my gosh, that was such a miracle. I can't believe that happened. How did that happen? There's only God. Oh, let me share with you this one story. There was one time, because I always look for miracles. God works in such amazing ways in our lives. And if we miss it, right, and we don't call it a miracle, we don't call it what it is, then we miss the fact of what God did in our life. So let me tell you this story. There was one time. It was when I was living in Washington State and I was doing foster care. I just dropped off 2 of I'm out of water, so this is gonna get bad. One time. Yeah, I'm out of water. Okay. So I just dropped off 2 of the foster kids for their visit, and it's usually about an hour, hour and a half, something like that. So my kids and I, we just went over to the park, and I had my 2 youngest. I'm gonna have to do this. Sorry. Give me a second. Yeah. So I had 2 of my kids with me, the 2 youngest ones. I had 2 of our dogs. We had wolf dogs at the time. And we went to the park. Went down by the river. And when, we're just looking for rocks and letting the dogs walk around. And all of a sudden, I hear my son yelling, "Mom, Mom." And I look up, and for some reason, he walked out on the rocks, and his slipper got stuck. He fell into the water, not knowing how deep the river was. So I see him, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm holding the 2 dogs, right? I give the dogs to my youngest son. He's only little. He's probably like what? I believe he was only like 6 or 7 or something. He was little. So I give him the dogs. I tell him, go get help. I jump in the river. I'm from Hawaii. I didn't realize like the river is absolutely freezing cold. So I thought, okay, can I touch the bottom? Hold my breath. Dunk down. I can't touch the bottom. I'm like, oh my gosh. I can't find bottom. My son is drowning. I try to grab him. He's jumping on me. He's drowning me. He's freaking out. I know for a fact if I drown, I can't save him. I didn't know what to do. I had to push him away. And honestly, I prayed. At that moment, I prayed and I asked God to help me. And if it's His time, if this is how He's gonna go to heaven or taken or whatever, so be it. But step in and help me. I don't know what to do. The water is so cold, and I see him. He's dunking. He's dunking under, and you can see the fear in his eyes. My ears can hear the dogs and my youngest son, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's running the wrong way. The park was to the right, and I could hear him running further out towards the left. And I'm like, oh no. And all of a sudden, God steps in. He brings a calm and a thought to my head like, Daniel is my son. You know how to float. Turn around and we're going to float back. And he looked at me, he listened. I said, come on, let's go. And so we started just back floating, because I couldn't have him face me and pull me under. So he had to turn around and he had to back float. And so we were all the way back to the shore. I got him out, sitting down. I said, stay here. Let me go find your brother. And he was fine. He was breathing, he was scared, but I said, I'll be right back. Because I knew that my youngest son was running with the dogs. The dogs are wolf dogs. They're big dogs. And so before I even got up the hill, He was right there with the dogs and with the man. I was like, oh my gosh. And then he's like, are you guys okay? I said, yeah, he's out of the water or whatever. He helped us up the hill. We went, and the guy was like, I don't know how he did this. I don't know how he held, because the dogs were now with the guy, right? He's holding the leashes. He's like, I don't know how he held on to the dogs. I don't know how, because they pulled me so hard. They pulled me here. I don't know how this little boy held on to the dog. I was like, yeah, but I heard him going in the other direction. I heard him, so I thought it was going the wrong way. What happened was he was going towards the left, which is away from the park where more people are. But he ended up getting to this guy who had a phone, right? The other guy who had the dogs didn't have a phone, but he knew the park. So the two people that could help the most and was there available to help was where God led my son and led the dogs. My son, the little one, Paul, he has asthma. And he said that he was fine. But the one thing is that he lost his slipper went and found it. But it didn't affect him at all. Anytime he's running, anytime that he's super active like that, especially being so scared, his asthma would act up, right? Nothing. He was breathing fine. No asthma attack, no nothing. By the time we got up to the car, we could hear the ambulance, right? And the guy who had the dogs, he's like, you're fine. I'll go and meet the ambulance out there. I'll let them know that you guys are okay. I couldn't, we got the kids in. I got the kids in, got the dogs kenneled up, and I sat. Only then, sitting at my steering wheel, turning back, looking at the kids, I started crying. Because I could have lost my son in the water. I could have lost my son running off somewhere. But God was there. The one thing that my son Daniel said when he looked at me, he just saw this calm. He knew that everything was going to be okay. And I didn't think, with the adrenaline running and everything like that, I didn't think that I was so calm. I didn't think I was so calm. I was like, you know how to float. You can, that's how I thought I was doing it. But he said, no, it wasn't. And I thank God for that, because it was frightening. It was frightening to see your son drowning and not being able to save him and actually pushing him off, right? Knowing that pushing him away was the only way that you would save him. And that, to me, like when I look at that, I'm like, God is a miracle worker, right? So, in the questions for next week, when have you experienced God's miracle working power in your life? Look for things like that. It may not have been that drastic, like my son drowning, but other things, like small things even. You're in a rush and you're like, oh Lord, just give me a parking. I gotta go. And you find a parking right up front. Why can't that be the miracle working power that you hold on to for the next one? And number 3, how does the concept of walking in aloha resonate with your personal faith journey? How does walking in aloha, the ALOHA, right? How does that resonate with you and your own personal faith journey? So that is all we have for today. And I thank you guys for coming on. Thank you for sticking with me through this hour. The other sessions will be about the same length. We'll go for about an hour. And I'll have 15 minutes at the end to have any questions. So if you have any questions or if you want to, have any comments, now you can unmute and let me know if there's anything.
Okay.
Hi, Mary.
Hi. Yeah. I liked it. It was good. And yeah, I will go through those three things and see what I come up with and stuff. I just was thinking of something else that I actually wanted to ask you about. That kind of was concerning me, but I don't know if right now is the time to ask. But I'm gonna do it anyway. But anyway, there on my phone and stuff. There's some thing. Let me see. I'm trying to think of where it is that I go to. But anyways, it's like in a file. But there's like something on my phone that has to do with money, funds, or something, and it's got like graphs and all these different things. I don't know where that came from or what what it is about, but I don't know. I have things that like concerning, like I'm wanting to get like LifeLock and stuff or whatever to protect me on the phone, but there's things on there that kind of make me wonder if somebody is doing some kind of thing with money and using through my phone. I don't know, because I'm not really computer savvy and I don't know these things.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it was really bugging me because like things would pop up and it'd say like a lot amount of money, you know what I mean?
Oh.
And yeah, like some, and I'm like wondering if, you know how things are these days. I'm just like, I'm wanting to make sure that it isn't something that would get me in trouble, because I don't even know what it is.
Right. I understand. So, well, let me end this,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
then I can help you with that. So,
Okay.
If there's no other questions on Riverside or on Facebook, let me look over here on the Facebook chat.
Okay.
So thank you everybody for coming in today. And like I said, we're going to go over 8 weeks. So if you join in on Friday, it's Friday at 7 p.m. Hawaii time. And if you join in on Saturday, it's Saturday at 10 a.m. It does repeat during that same week. So if you miss it on Friday, feel free to join us on Saturday. But we're going to close up right now. I thank you all for joining us, and you have a blessed day walking in aloha, and we'll talk to you guys all soon. Aloha. Okay. 1 second.
Okay.